Hello everybody, good day to you guys. So I want to go ahead and start off with the public service announcement here. This is going to be a different video because I'm doing a lot of loose end work today. We've got cars stacked up on top of cars. We've got Duramaxes that we don't know what's wrong with them. There's some Silverados and I got a parking lot full of nonsense. So I'm trying, not the cars, it's just there's stuff that needs to go away. So today we're running through all the stuff that needs to go away and I'm tying up the loose ends. So we're gonna be bouncing all over the place. I'm diagging some stuff, we're gonna fix some stuff, and we're gonna look into a few things. So I hope you guys don't mind the change in format. I like doing things a little bit differently every now and then, and that's what today's gonna be. So enjoy the video. Happening Z Hood. Man, you guys, we're in a bit of a jam on this one. We were working on this 5.7 Hemi right here, and it had the classic Hemi engine tick noise that these things like to make. The customer sent me over a camshaft and all the lifters and an oil pump and all the gaskets and the parts I needed to kind of get this job done, and we had a major problem. We tore this engine down. Now it came in with no ticking noises. We had no sound out of this thing, but we tore this engine down, and as it was coming apart, we started pulling out the lifters, and the lifters were not looking very good. You guys see the wear pattern on this lifter right here? It's been running a little bit sideways on its camshaft, and that is because the needle bearings inside of that lifter, they wear out and they fail, and then they fall out. They fall down into the oil pan, and now you've got a lifter that has the roller just flopping around within the lifter body. Now this is not the camshaft that came out of this engine over here. The cam is still in that one because we stopped once we found this little guy right here. This is one of the last ones that we took out of it. Look at that lifter. That is not okay because all the bearings have worn out inside of it and they failed. Now what happens is when those bearings fail, this thing will either ride kind of sideways like what we saw in those other wear patterns, or it'll just sit here and eat the camshaft alive because the flanking edges that hold this wheel in place start riding on the cam lobe. See that? See that clear bit of wear pattern right there? Now this particular example, it has wiped out this cam lobe right here. Now we've gone inside of this engine over there and we've seen, I think it was number 4 on the driver's side was just as wiped out as that one over there. That was an easier example for me to use, hence the reason I used it. So we're in a position where we spent like 1.2 days tearing this engine down, thinking we were just gonna do a cam and cylinder head and lifter swap. We had the heads decked. As soon as they came off, they went and cleaned them up, ran a machine over them, got this surface nice and flat and true. They've been pressure tested and blasted in the heat cabinet, so the heads have been refreshed. We have a brand new set of cylinder heads here, but we cannot put them on this engine because what had happened is we found a lot of metal floating around in the VVT solenoids, and we ended up cutting open the oil filter afterwards and found chunks of metal in the filter. So what that means is all of the camshaft material and the lifter material that's been wearing out, ending up inside of the oil system, that material has clogged up a filter, put the filter into a bypass, and then the oil system was continuing to circulate metal through vital engine components like bearings and timing chains and VVT sprockets and all that stuff. So we were at a point where we can do all this work and put all this effort and time into an engine that we know is hurt. And realistically, even taking a look inside, that's not a great looking engine. It's got some ring wash going on. It's not horrible, but it's there. It's got ring wash going on, and it's had metal floating around in it. So we don't want to spend several $1,000s of labor, time, and money to try to put together an engine that's been internally damaged. So now what we need to do is replace an engine. But we've got all this time and effort and parts everywhere. So if we just buy an engine, that means we wasted all that part money. So we got a couple $1,000 in parts and camshafts and lifters and gaskets. You go ahead and buy a remanufactured engine, it's gonna have all that stuff on there. So what we're going to do is we're gonna get a short block. And pretty much a short block is what we're looking at right here. It's going to be just the rotating assembly, pistons, rods, crank. They'll come with a camshaft and timing components, and none of the accessories are going to come with a short block. So what we'll be doing here is pulling out the rest of this short block. We're going to throw it in a heap or on a stand, finish taking off the timing components, the water pump, and all that good stuff, engine mounts, everything else, sensors, anything that can be reused. We're going to transfer all that stuff over to a new short block using the customer's components that are salvageable, as well as using the components that were supposed to be set up or supposed to be here to repair this engine. So we've had to abandon the repair and then modify the repair a little bit and kind of change directions in order to do this properly. Sure, I could probably just look the other way and not have noticed the metal and the solenoids, slap this thing together and collected the money, sent him on his way. But problem is it might eat itself alive in 2 days, might eat itself alive in 2 years. But the financial investment that we're into it so far was not really worth that risk. And if it was mine, I would not be using that engine. So we're going to put a short block in this, transfer over all the parts. However, that's going to take some time, and I don't really have any time to mess with this right now because I don't have an engine. So I need to make some space because I have a whole parking lot full of cars out there, like that thing right there. That thing's still here. It's been around over a year. You guys have not seen it, but it's been at a trailer sitting in my house because I can't park it inside every day, and I can't park it outside at all because it has no top. So I have no space here, and I have no space here. I have no time to work on this right now because I'm waiting on some parts. So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna double stack some cars. I'm gonna lift this truck up. We're gonna put that thing under this thing so I can park it and get it out of the way for a while. And then we'll undo all of that after I get a new engine. And now you guys are like, wait a minute, why is that Shelby thing, that fake Shelby Cobra still here? The reason is the guy that owns it, he was affected pretty nastily by the hurricane last year when it was here, and it put him outside of a position to retake custody of that car. So now the dude's good. We're all in good shape. Hey, get out of my shot. You're ruining it. Everything's in good shape with my guy, I think. And he paid his bill and was supposed to have sent a transport company, one of those like one of those hot shot people that drives the Dodge Cummins trucks around, you know. They were supposed to come pick that thing up last week. So I brought it down here. I untrailered it, unpacked it, thinking it was gonna get picked up, you know, a week ago. And they keep not showing up. And I'm getting a little impatient. And I feel like blasting them on the internet. I'm not gonna name drop them just yet because I like to give people the benefit of the doubt, and I don't want to like ruin their already horrible business because they make appointments and don't show up for them. But I'm gonna have to impound that car and just sell the thing. Anybody want to buy a Shelby? I'll sell it to you, 600 grand right now. First come, first serve, you can have it. Because I just want it to go away. So if those dudes don't come and pick this up, I'm gonna impound that car and I'm gonna sell it because it needs to go away. It's hindering my business. It's causing us a problem, and I need the thing to leave. So for now, I'm just gonna stash that not actual real Shelby under this defective dead Dodge over here. I think it'll fit right up under here. And then at least I can mitigate my space loss.
Yeah. Yeah.
Weird. I had a Miata parked under a Hummer limo one time.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Yep. Or no, it wasn't a Miata. It was a BMW Z3, little itty bitty micro machine car, and we had a Miata limo on a 40,000 pound ramp like that lift over there.
Yeah.
We were prepping for a hurricane. Boss wanted the limo inside, and the people never picked up their BMW, so we had to stash that under there. So I had a giant 40-something foot long limo under this little micro machine car. It was kind of cute.
That's great.
Kind of. It was not as proportionate as this. That's kind of cool. We'll go with that. In fact, that's the thumbnail. There we go. Now we're moving on to clearing this one out. That's what we're gonna do. I'm emptying the shop out today. We're making space. This is an '06 Monte Carlo, very similar to that Monte Carlo out there. You guys know that one. This one, the guy that owned it, he did a lot of nice refurbishing work to this thing. It's a really good looking car. I believe it's got a new transmission in it, and I believe it has a rebuilt LS4 in there. I know they put some love into it because everything got a nice paint job. The exhaust manifold covers got a nice paint job. The problem with this one is when the guy hooked everything up and went to key it on, somehow, some way, it fried the ECM. I think I've got the old one over here. Let me show you what happened to this unit. That is not the right ECM. That's here it is. It's in the box. So that's the box that the new unit came in. It appears to have been a reman. I don't know who made it or whatever. There is our original ECM. Now you'll see these connectors. They've got these very large pins right there. That's our power connector for this ECM. And then over here, that's our ground connector. You see that right there? There is no pin. The thing is melted away. Now, what had happened is when this thing was keyed on, that pin fried out of it, and it also took out the connector. The connector body was all nasty melted. So we had to take a new connector, a new used one. The guy brought me some because he knew it was melted, but that connector, I couldn't get the pins out of it. So I got another connector, and we basically took this new connector right here, de-pinned all the pins out of it, spliced in a piece of wire because the end of this ground wire here was super melted. So since the connector housing was melted and damaged, we had to replace the housing, which means every one of these wires had to get unpinned and then repinned back in their same position. Then we made a temporary splice. I did that with some butt connectors there. Reason being is I was monitoring this cable right here to make sure it didn't get hot and then melt again and then take out this new ECM, because ECMs are a couple $100 and programming is a couple $100. So if we key it on and melt it and destroy it, then we just wasted a bunch of money for no reason. But now this thing is at a point where it starts and it runs and it does not melt computers, and I'm trying to get it all back together, and it's now just showing me a whole heap of problems. Earlier, we did not have a cooling fan operation, and I found more damaged pins inside of the fuse block there. So because I had extra connectors, I was able to deep pin the melted stuff in there, repin those, and then make wiring repairs at the fuse box. And now we have fans and the engine runs again. It has no lights inside. There's no more no warning messages. It's so far so good. It tells us on occasion that the trunk is open, but I think that's a deck lid problem, not so much an engine problem up here, or an electrical problem. Yesterday, it was puking out coolant everywhere. If you look down at that radiator hose, hang on, focus down there, please. Yep. See how that crimp connector, or that clamp or whatever, it's not really seated very straight. It was leaking right there by that bolt. We banged on a little bit with a pry bar because it's super hot in there, and I tried to move that clamp around. It sort of stopped, but I need to pull this lower hose off of here and re-clamp it with a better clamp, because that thing's probably going to start leaking everywhere. It puked out like a gallon worth of coolant, which is not great. The other issue is I tried to charge the AC on it, and the head pressure went up to about 400 PSI, and then it shut down due to excessive pressure. I thought it was just a sticking expansion valve right there, similar to the one that we just replaced on the Hyundai a couple days ago, but it was the same thing. I threw a charge into it after changing the TXV, and head pressure just went through the moon. So it's got a very nasty restriction somewhere in the AC system. I'm waiting to hear back to see if we're going to fix that or not. This thing is now in kind of running and driving condition a little bit. Yes, I don't have an air box on it, and it's all kind of loosely slapped together. Right now, we're like I said, there's a lot of work to be done. We did not have a brake pedal on this thing either. The guy put a bunch of brake work into it before it came over here, and I think he ended up with air in the lines. So we did a brake system fluid exchange on it yesterday to try to get more pedal. Unlock. Unlock again. There we go. So let's give this thing its first test drive in months. It's been here about 4 months because I wasn't really able to get to it. If I take on somebody's project that they didn't finish, I can't do that immediately. Project cars are, well, they're hard because you don't know what's going on and what happens. So I don't rotate through project cars very quickly. You guys have noticed that Fiero that I've got outside. That thing has been there for, I think, since the hurricane or just after the hurricane. So that's been here 4 or 5 months too. Normally my cars don't sit around that long unless we have blowed up engines or people don't pick them up, or it's a project that I do not have the ability to get to. It's usually space that does it. So this week I'm trying to nail down a lot of loose ends and free up some space so we can have a more organized flow of operation around here. Backing out, we've got pretty good brake pedal actuation. I'm feeling good about the brakes. Let's give this thing its first test drive. Let's see if the engine stays cool, because it was overheating. And we're gonna end up parking this one when it gets back, or when we get back, because I have nothing else to do on this right now. And I think after that, we can diagnose that Chevy over there. Customer states on that one that while driving, it just starts slowly losing power up until a point it has no power. That thing, I believe, has a Duramax in it. So in my mind, we have a fueling issue. That's a probability. So we're probably gonna look for restricted fuel. If we do not have any restrictions in the fuel supply, we're gonna check injectors, and we're gonna check for any codes and things like that. Looks like we might get some rain. Yeah, it may need a fuel pump and injectors, but I don't know yet. So yeah, this is our first run on this here, and it has no fuel. We need fuel. Wheel alignment's off, like a lot. See the steering wheel. Here's some rust on the brakes. That's gonna scrape off real quick. Okay, well, it drives. Okay, first bit of throttle here. I'm being real easy on it. I don't know this car. I don't trust this car yet. It just got itself back on the road. Not a bad car or a bad candidate for a restoration. They ride real nice. They got good power. People seem to like them. They're super sporty. So the transmission feels good. Seems to be a decent car. We're out of gas. So I'm gonna just bring this thing back into the shop and we're gonna park it. We'll do a fluid level check now that everybody's been circulated. I think it has no mileage on anything. So we'll have to check fluids, and then I'm waiting to hear back if we're gonna diagnose the air conditioner and any other systems. So let's get back to the shop, switch gears again. Let's grab that Duramax Chevy and see if we can't diagnose the fueling issue on that bad boy. All right, next Diag. Looks like it's a Silverado or a Sierra, GMC 2500, Chevy 2500. It's the HD. We've got a Duramax in here. That's the V8 turbine diesel. And we have some filters. There's already kind of a couple filters in here, fuel filters. So we think we have a fueling problem, do we? They complained of lack of power while driving and towing. Let's fire this thing up and see what she does. All right, sounds pretty healthy. Let's go through the menu items real fast and see if there's like a fuel monitor or a fuel filter monitor here. Hey, look, we found mileage. 183,564. It's almost broken in. All right, trans temp needs oil. 12% fuel filter life. That's not that good. Okay. All right, so I think we're assuming that the fuel filter situation here is the cause of the lack of power. Let's go drive it. We'll do a full throttle pull over the hill right there. And then if we experience a loss of power, then we will know. And if we don't, we'll check the ECM for any trouble codes that are not indicating a light. And we'll also look at the injectors and see what they're doing, because this may have a a fueling issue or it's just got a restriction from bad filters. I think what we'll do, if we can't get this thing to display the symptoms while we're out, we'll pull the filters off of it, cut them open, and see what's inside. If they're all nasty and clogged up with garbage, then it's reasonable to assume we have a restriction. Yeah, when your diesel's losing power, it's either the ECM is doing it because of emission stuff, it's not getting any fuel, or you got a major problem because these things run. That's what they do. Engine sounds good. Let's just park right here. Hey, at least that guy gave the wave. I appreciate the wave. It means we're all aware of each other. Ooh, I hear a whistle. It's got some turbo. Well, this sounds good. I don't think it has a muffler on it. Oh yeah. Okay, that felt pretty good. Okay, so what we're not gonna do is pull out in front of that truck right there who's going about 60 miles an hour and then hope that this truck keeps going. And he stops, so we're good. Yeah, we don't pull out in front of cars around here. It's a great way to unalive yourself. Let's give it the beans, 3/4 throttle. Yeah, she's cooking. No smoke, that's a clean burn. That's good. Yeah, if we have a restricted fuel system, what can happen, or if it starts running out of fuel, what'll happen is there's not enough exhaust velocity to keep the turbo going, and it'll actually start starving itself of air. So you start running low fuel pressure or low fuel volume, you'll lose air because the turbo has no more get up and go. And now you get into a situation where you're over fueling because there's not enough air to make the mixture right. So it'll start rolling coal out of the tailpipe, chooching black smoke. We had a good clean burn on this one. Now I'm not saying that fueling is not the problem, but it's the most likely so far. I mean, we got 12% fuel filter life, an unknown truck, and the customer just bought it. So we don't know, but we're gonna find out. Look at that, look at that. Old cab over, that's a beautiful truck. Wow. You don't see a lot of those anymore, man. It's dead. Instead we get a bunch of this right here. That's awesome. It's a squatted chode with a landscape trailer. All right, we are back. I'm gonna nose this thing in. We're gonna locate the fuel filters. Dave took a look at this and he said that the factory filter has been deleted, which means it's probably got a lift pump if they're back on the frame rail somewhere. Run that over a little bit. There we go. Oh, there's a wrench down there. I don't want to run that over. See it? Yeah, that's probably good right there. Let's park this bad boy. Cool. All right, let's go find those filters. Let's check where it's supposed to be just to make sure we got the facts right. Yeah, it's GMC, not Chevy. I knew that. Okay, Dirty Max. Gross. Okay. Yeah, a little gross in here, tell you what. Okay, we have some kind of someone else's turbo in there. I recognize this. It might be a Ryan's Diesel Service turbo, but we can't see it under the plate, but I hear it in there. Okay. Got an AFE intake. Yeah, that's supposed to be our fuel filter, but it is not there. There's like a block off bypass housing, and that thing is leaking everywhere. Do you see this? We're leaking fuel. Hey Dave, you didn't crack open this bleeder or anything on top of this fuel filter housing? Okay. Yeah, so it's leaking probably at the plunger. There's a primer plunger here, that little button deal. And on the factory units, let me back up. These trucks do not have a mechanical lift pump. Are you headed home, baby?
Yeah.
Okay, alien girl, love you.
We're going to the park.
You are? Yeah. Oh, good. We'll have fun at the park, okay? All right, give me a kiss. Give daddy kisses. Mwah. Love you, baby.
Hello.
Taking him to the park?
To the park, yes.
All right, cool beans. Hang out. I gotta do dad stuff. I'll see you guys in there. Okay, I am back. Let's go ahead and do the low-hanging fruit section of this, just to roll it out. We're gonna change the filters, cut them open to see if everything is all copacetic inside. One of these is a fuel water separator. That's this guy with the little drain thing on the bottom of it, because you don't want water in your diesel. And then this one here, that's the actual filter. So let's crawl down in there on the ground, get those filters out. They should be on a lift pump, which is an additional electric pump designed to send pressurized fuel up to the injection pump. See, those injection pumps, the ones that did not come equipped with a lift pump, they've got a series of gears on the back of the pump that act similar to how an oil pump functions. And as those gears rotate, they just move fluid, and that fluid motion creates the suction from the tank. Then the mechanical part of the motor there can pump up that fluid pressure and send it delivered up to the engine under a little bit of pressure, so we're not using vacuum to pull our fuel. I can tell you right now, that leak that we saw up at that filter housing, at the little bleeder thing right there, if this truck did not have a lift pump installed, then this engine would not run, because it would probably be sucking in some air. That was not very tight, was it? Did you see that? Yeah, let's pull this bad boy off of here real quick. The fuel just keeps flowing. Are we draining back the whole fuel line? I think we are. Look at that. That's crazy. Oh, another fun fact. This has a fuel cooler. See that right there? The fuel that goes past the fuel injectors is going to pick up a lot of heat, because those injectors make a lot of heat, plus the act of pressurizing this fuel at the injection pump also creates heat, because the fuel molecules are slamming into each other and they experience friction. So all of the return fuel that goes back to the tank is run through that cooler. That way we don't slowly heat up the entire fuel system. I think this lift pump is horrible. This thing is siphoning fuel from the tank. That's what we're doing. Hey Dave, can I get those filters you got over there? This fuel tank is self-draining. Can you bring me those filters real fast? That was not okay. Let's try that again. Yeah, there's clearly the fuel level in the tank is higher than this pump, so the fuel is gravity feeding from the tank. Hope this is the right filter. There we go. Yeah, I know. Probably should put some gloves on. It's fine. I'll be all right. It's just diesel. Diesel's actually a pretty good cleaner, so I should have super squeaky clean hands when I'm done here. Let's pull the fuel water separator out of this thing real quick like. There we go. This fuel filter change is going to cost more in diesel than it is in filters. That's incredible. And no, I'm not going to pinch those lines off either. You pinch off rubber lines, you run the risk of collapsing the line on the inside. Diesel everywhere. I don't know why I couldn't get it, but now I got it. Okay. All right, Dave, will you go in there and key this thing on, and let's see if this lift pump comes on? Because if the lift pump's not working, then that means this thing's drawing in fuel. Now that's working. I'm opening the bleeder valve here. Now we're not getting fuel. Close it up. All right, yeah, we'll let this thing run for a while. Let's go up top where the factory filter is supposed to be and open the bleeder and see if we can't get the air to come out. Okay, so I'm gonna reach in here. We're gonna get a hold of this little bleeder valve right there. Now, it looks like you can get that off with a screwdriver, and sometimes you can, but what'll happen is the big flathead will just strip out the plastic on this nut thing, so I routinely will use a 13mm wrench. So we're just gonna crack that loose. I just saw some fuel. Oh, I'm stuck. Okay, so there should be no air. Close that back off. I just saw the sky. Okay, that's hard, so there is pressure behind it. Tighten that up a little bit. Okay, let's reach in and fire it up. It should start right up, no problem. You good down there? Oh, you cleaning my spillages? Thanks, my brethren. Let's get some diesel and everything. Starting's the engine. Everybody clear? You good? I didn't hear nothing. That's not a leak, that's just vibration. Like Jurassic Park. Okay. This right here, that is the test port to test the vacuum from the fuel injection pump, which we can't see. It's going to be way down there. But if you want to test that to make sure that that pump is pulling fuel, you put a vacuum gauge on here and then crank it. If it pulls good vacuum, that's how you know it's that pump is able to lift. That doesn't necessarily mean it's able to pressurize, but it's a way to test fuel supply. Since this truck has that extra pump in the back, it's no longer necessary. Okay, so the truck's running again. We know we got a fuel leak up there. That needs to be fixed. I don't think that's causing our lack of power condition that we got. It's possible, and I would never attempt to do any repairs without fixing that fuel leak first, but we want to be thorough in our investigation here. So we're climbing back in, firing up the scanner. We're going to get into the ECM and we're going to check for trouble codes. I don't have a check engine light, so maybe we don't have any codes, but I want to see when the last time the DTCs were cleared, and we can look at this ABS while we're in there just to figure out what we're doing. So we're working on 2008 Sierra 6.6. That's the LMM Duramax. This is the year built just after my truck's model. It's the new body style, the new. So, since we have warning lights, let's just see what those are talking about. We're gonna go into the ABS control module. We're gonna pull up the DTCs, see what we have going down here. Electronic control unit performance, symptom 00, current DTC, that's a C0550. Electronic performance, it probably needs a module. Let's all data that real quick and see what the C0550 code indicates. You know, this might be one of those rare instances where the code actually does tell you what part to change. The majority of the time, the codes do not tell you what part to change. They tell you the symptom and the system that is involved. So what we have to do as technicians is utilize that information that the ECU provided us and perform the diagnostic procedure. On occasion, we get one that basically says, hey, internal module failure, replace module. So is that a C0550? Is that what it was? Yep, C0550, and that was in the ABS module. So let's see what we have here. We have description, symptom 0, 0, that's ECU performance. Symptom 01, symptom 02, 3, 4, etc. The electronic brake control module has an internal malfunction. Detects internal malfunction. So yeah, we're done. We need an ABS control unit. Action taken when the DTC sets. The ABS no longer works. TCS is disabled. The indicators turn on and the red brake light warning indicator is illuminated. We have all of those symptoms. So basically, verify DTC is not set. Yeah, whatever. Repair instructions for the code. Replace module. Yep, that's what it needs. Needs a new module. Okay, diagnosis complete. This is an easy day. So now that I'm pretty confident we need an ABS module, let's go into the ECM and we're going to look at trouble code history and, more importantly, trouble code clearing history. I want to see if they turned off the light right before the car got here. It happens. The problem with that is when those lights turn on, when there is a request for the malfunction indicator lamp, all of the data that was occurring in that moment is displayed and saved in a snapshot. And we can review that snapshot data to see what kind of conditions were taking place during the mill request. And if we clear out the code, we lose all that snapshot data, which is very unfortunate. Distance since DTC cleared, 391 miles. So this was cleared not very long ago, a couple weeks ago maybe. Warm up since DTC was cleared. There was 32 times this thing ran, but we don't know what the code was because it's gone. So we can't look at any of the data from the code. Injector timing. Okay, I'm looking for fuel injector data. I don't see it in here. Let me find it. Okay, so what this is, these are the balance rates for each individual fuel injector. Now, the purpose of the data that we're looking at is to illustrate a feature of the ECM where it will adjust the injected quantity. See how we've got that millimeters cubed measurement there? That's a volume measurement. The ECM will adjust this volume of measurement in order to maintain a smooth idle. And that is to account for the differences in the spray patterns of each individual injector. So if it detects that the engine speeds up during injector 3's cycle, it'll pull some fuel away. If it detects that the crankshaft slows down during injector 7's cycle, it'll add a little bit of fuel. So as we're sitting right now, we're taking away fuel, adding some fuel, taking away fuel. The rest of these are hovering near zero, which is where we want to see them. Now, this is only for idle adjustment, but it's a good indicator that we have an injector issue. They can stick a little bit open and they're always spraying, so we're going to be loading up a cylinder with fuel. Or sometimes they're restricted and they don't spray very well, in which case we're starving that cylinder of fuel. But if we were to elevate this engine speed, I think it's like 1500, 1200 RPM, we're going to see these injector quantity adjustments default to zero, I think. That's how it was on the 07s and newer. This one's not doing it. Let's bring it up. Okay. Perhaps there's a change in strategy. Put it in gear and try it. Yeah, these should flake. These should default out to zero once we put it in gear or give it RPM. I don't know why. Maybe there's been a change. Well, it used to be they would stop with their IQA adjustment after you gave it some RPM. Regardless, based on these numbers, since we are so close to zero, I believe our fuel injectors are just fine. There's no issue here because the balance rates are pretty well even. I mean, they're close. That 2.1, that's a little off, but until we get into the 3s, maybe 3.5, I'm not too concerned about it. So I'm of the opinion at this point in time that we need to fix up that fuel leak thing over there. We put some filters in it. So let's go cut open those old ones real quick and take a peek. All right, we're over at the bench. The fuel filter is in the vise, and we're gonna chop that thing open with this can opener device right here. Got a couple roller bearings and this little mounting plate, and then this little cutting edge right here off of a can opener. What we'll do is we'll put this on the filter, spin it around. This edge is gonna go through, cut the filter open, and then we can extract the internals to inspect them for cloggages. We won't find, I don't think we'll find big chunks of debris or anything, but we should find a bunch of nasty growtiness, especially since this filter has been in service for probably longer than it should have been. They usually don't sit around long enough to rust. So I'm kind of doubting the accuracy of that fuel filter life monitor. It could be like negative 100%, not 12%. And the reason being is, nice clean cut. This is a newly purchased truck. There's no history here. We don't know. And it's pretty filthy, to tell you the truth. But is it clogged? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's clogged or not. Well, looky there. There's some fuel in there. See it? Yeah. Tough call. So, that's not good. This is a nasty filter, like for sure. It could be clogged. Not a lot of debris, that's good. Yeah, this thing could be clogged up. It's real tough to tell. So we've already changed filters, which is good. We needed to do that. And we need to locate one of those filter adapters. It's actually like the mounting bracket for the factory filter. We need to stick one of those on there to stop the leak. They do have rebuild kits on those. You can get the O-ring and all the seals and stuff. You take it apart and re-O-ring it. I can't tell you I've had much success with that. I don't know why. I've rebuilt a couple of them and they last for a little while, but then they leak. And I've experienced it more times than I want to account, so I don't recommend rebuilding those anymore. I just put new ones in it. Okay, we got another one coming in. Nice, that was nice and smooth. This is a Ford Exploder over here. So we're diagging this one next. They want like a 200,000 mile service and timing chains and brakes and all the fluids and a bunch of other stuff. So that's gonna take me some time to go through. I've got a black Silverado sitting there. We were moving that around earlier. That's got electrical diag. That one's whole video worthy on itself. So we're gonna do that one later. We just did that one. That one's the transmission's coming out of it. It's got a rear main seal leak, so we're gonna get to that later. I think we've had enough hodgepodge of diag work today. I got a lot of the goals accomplished thus far. Now I need to make some work orders, find some parts, and get all this stuff coordinated. So that being said, I don't have any more time in my life to make any more videos for you guys today. So we're gonna cut this one short. Yeah, I think that's about all I got for you on this one. So let me know what you think about these projects, these cars in this video. I know it's a slight change in alarm. Ha ha. What are you gonna do? Shoot it. Thanks, Dave. I know that's a slight change in the normal protocol, but I had to do some catch-up diag admin work, so I hope you guys understand. That being said, I have nothing more to offer you on this particular video. Once again, let me know what you think about this one in the comment section down below. Do you like the coming along while we just kind of do normal activities? Or do you guys want me to stick back to the grab a car, bring it in, work on it, talk about it, do our thing, and then ship it and fix it and all that good stuff? Or do you like the mixture of both? I'd like some feedback on this one because I want to know what I can do on my side to provide a better experience for you guys on your side. So I look forward to reviewing your comments. I'd also like to see those likes and subscribe buttons in this video. And I guess before I go, I've got nothing else here except to remind you guys to not forget to have yourselves a great day. See you guys later. Thanks for watching. See you guys in the next one. Goodbye. Video over. In a day. In a transmission.